We are trapped in a temporal loop. Elias, I have seen you before. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of times. But with every cycle, my memories fade, and so do yours.
A time loop? Why me? I don't even know you.
You don't remember, but you chose this path. Where I fell millennia ago, but its memory endures through me, and I called for you because you're the last hope.
Welcome to the Vault of Tales, a treasure trove of science fiction stories. Today, we embark on the journey of Elias and Lyra in story, Echoes of Eternity. After vanishing into the unknown, Elias leaves behind a legacy that defies time itself, a new world born from his will and love. Calling humanity to its next great adventure among the stars. Let's get started. In the boundless darkness between the stars, where light is nothing more than feeble embers defying the cold void, a signal emerged. It was not a distress call, no, it was subtler than that, a whisper from a long-dead past, slipping through the fabric of space and time, searching for Earth. The year was 2184, in New Geneva, a marvel of human ingenuity, where glass towers curved against gravity and hovered above a silver-hued sky. Elias Varon heard it. Elias was not a man easily swayed by the inexplicable. At 35, he was a theoretical physicist with cold, steel-gray eyes and perpetually disheveled black hair, bearing the look of someone who had stared into the abyss of the universe for too long without blinking. He lived alone in a small apartment on the 87th floor of Kepler Tower, its vast windows overlooking the swirling artificial clouds below. His colleagues had a nickname for him, the Anomaly Hunter, half in jest, half in wary respect. Elias had an unusual obsession, scouring astronomical data for the unexplainable, tiny cracks in the grand, seamless tapestry that human science had woven over the cosmos. That day, bathed in the cold blue glow of his lab, he sat before a massive holographic display, fingers gliding through streams of data from the Orion 9 orbital telescope. Humanity had reached for the stars over a century ago, sending interstellar ships hurtling through the void with gravity-warping engines. But they were still children in the grand expanse, arrogant and naive, blind to the deeper laws of time and existence. Elias understood that, and it was precisely that rare humility that drove him to keep searching. Then it appeared, a signal unlike anything recorded before. Outside the known frequency bands of human science, waves of light spiraled like a cosmic storm, shifting across the screen with an eerie, almost deliberate rhythm. Elias held his breath, adjusting the data filters. The signal wasn't coming from any known star or planet. It originated from a dark expanse, an abyss with no light, no life, nothing. But as he magnified the image, his heartbeat quickened. She was there, a woman, not a still image, but thousands of overlapping frames, a fragmented motion, like a reel of film caught in the flow of time. She had long, silver hair that shimmered like starlight, eyes deep as the cosmos, filled with swirling constellations, and skin pale with an ethereal glow. She moved in disjointed gestures, arms outstretched in supplication, head bowed in despair, then lifting as if calling out. Elias couldn't hear her, but he felt her, a presence, a voice without sound, reaching through space and into his mind. "What is this?" he murmured, his voice hoarse. He ran decryption protocols, but the results were maddening, a string of symbols belonging to no known language. No binary code, no standard radio wave pattern. It was something else, something older. Leaning back, he ran a hand over his face. He had encountered strange signals before, pulsar interference, gravitational echoes from black holes, but never anything like this. This wasn't just data, it carried something within it. A sensation, a memory, one he couldn't name. He transmitted the findings to the Galactic Science Council. Attaching the raw data, their response came swiftly, curt as a slap. No research value, likely natural interference from an unidentified cosmic phenomenon. Elias clenched his fists, slamming them onto the console. Interference? Not a chance. Humanity had conquered the stars, but their arrogance blinded them to the unknown. He turned back to the screen, where the woman's image flickered within the spiraling vortex of light. "Who are you?" he whispered, as if she could hear him. No answer came, but deep inside him, something stirred, an echo of a memory that was not his own. A fleeting vision of his hands grasping hers amid the vastness of space. Surrounded by fragments of a shattered reality, Elias shook his head, willing the sensation away, but it clung to him like a shadow. In that moment, he had unknowingly stepped into a loop of fate, a story that transcended time, space, and the rise and fall of civilizations. The signal was not just a whisper. It was a doorway, a path leading him to her, and to the secret that could alter the fate of the universe. Elias couldn't shake the image, the fleeting vision of his hands grasping someone else's amidst the vast, empty void of space, a memory that didn't belong to him. Yet it clung to his mind like an ancient scar, buried deep in the fabric of his thoughts. The signal on the holographic display continued to swirl, its light shifting and spiraling like a cosmic storm. And within those luminous vortexes, she remained, a silent apparition, her gaze reaching across thousands of light years, calling out to him. He had no other choice. If the Galactic Science Council refused to believe him, then he would find the answers himself. 3 days later, Elias stood aboard the Erebus 7 orbital research station, a bastion of human ingenuity suspended at the edge of Earth's stratosphere. Where titanic machines roared against the silence of the void, the station's interior was cold, its walls curved and metallic, bathed in the eerie glow of quantum energy panels. It felt less like a structure and more like stepping inside the living body of some vast, mechanical entity. Before him hovered humanity's most advanced signal analysis device, a smooth, obsidian sphere pulsing with a faint, rhythmic hum, almost like a heartbeat. He fed the anomaly's raw data into the system, fingers gliding over the control interface with measured precision. "Just one test," he murmured to himself, but the moment he activated the program, the sphere pulsed violently, a surge of energy erupted outward, shattering the holographic display as spiraling light bled into reality. Space itself fractured before him, like glass struck by an unseen force. Shards of existence hung suspended in midair, reflecting distorted glimpses of the station, his own face, and, most impossibly, scenes he had never witnessed before. Monolithic structures of stone and light stood against the backdrop of a dying world. Then she stepped through, not through a door, not through a portal, but as though she had been woven from the very essence of light and shadow. Her silver-white hair shimmered like the heart of a dying star. Her eyes, deep, endless, held within them the fractured light of 1,000 stars. As if the universe itself had been captured in her gaze. A soft glow radiated from her pale skin, not blinding, but warm, like the last rays of a sun setting on an ancient world. When she spoke, her voice did not travel through the air. It resonated directly in his mind, soft yet weighted with the gravity of an entire civilization. "I am Lyra Noctis," she said, "the last of Lyrith." Elias took a step back, his pulse hammering in his ears. Lyrith, the name wasn't on any human star maps, yet something about it stirred a buried recognition, like a word half-remembered from a dream long forgotten. He searched her face, looking for answers, but she continued, her expression etched with both despair and resolve. "We are trapped in a temporal loop, Elias. I have seen you before, hundreds, perhaps thousands of times, but with every cycle, my memories fade, and so do yours." "A time loop," he echoed, his voice hoarse. Humanity had long theorized about manipulating time, but they were still children playing with gravity, far from breaching the sanctity of temporal law. What he was witnessing now, it defied everything. "Why me? I don't even know you." Lyra tilted her head, the light in her eyes flickering like a dying transmission. "You don't remember, but you chose this path. Lyrith fell millennia ago, but its memory endures, through me. And I called for you because you are the last hope." A chill ran down Elias's spine. He turned, looking at the fragmented shards of reality still hovering around them. They reflected not just the present, but glimpses of something far older, of him and Lyra standing hand in hand in the void. As the universe around them collapsed, this wasn't an illusion. It was real, a connection beyond time and space, as though he had known her before he was ever born. "Humans don't surrender," he said, voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. "If what you're saying is true, I'll find a way to break this loop. For you, for myself." Lyra gave him a faint, weary smile. The glow around her dimmed, as if time itself was pulling her away. "Time does not wait, Elias, and neither does the hunter that pursues us. Time waits for no one, Elias, and neither does the hunter." Lyra's words still echoed in Elias's mind, a distant signal lost in the void. He stood there, in the depths of Erebus 7, staring into the fractured abyss before him, shards of reality suspended midair, reflecting the cold blue glow of Earth's technology and the soft golden light of a place he had never known. Lyra extended a hand toward him, her eyes flickering like dying stars. "If you wish to break the cycle, come with me," she said. Elias inhaled deeply, the unyielding fire of human determination flaring within him. He stepped forward, grasping her hand. The world shattered. When he opened his eyes, Earth was gone, Erebus 7 was gone. Before him lay Lyrith, the planet stretched out beneath an ancient, dying sun, its golden light bathing a desolate landscape. The sky was a swirling expanse of fractured gray, streaked with strange luminous fissures, wounds in the fabric of space itself. The ground beneath his feet was cracked and broken, revealing towering monoliths that defied gravity, each one adorned with glowing veins of energy, pulsing in a slow, rhythmic cadence, like the heartbeat of a slumbering giant. Elias felt an eerie sensation creeping up his spine. This world was not dead. It was dreaming, or remembering. "Welcome to Lyrith," Lyra murmured. Her voice was quieter here, heavy with the weight of millennia. She moved forward, her silver hair catching the ghostly light, strands shimmering like the arms of a distant galaxy. Elias followed. Each step he took sent a dry crunch through the silence, the only sound in a place where the echoes of a lost civilization hung like a specter. Ruins floated in the air, remnants of structures that had once defied nature itself. And in the distance, a vast sphere radiated golden light, a silent, pulsing beacon, its presence undeniable. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. The wind carried whispers in return, faint voices, billions of them, layered atop one another. Lyra stopped and turned to him. "This is the collective memory stream," she said. "Lyrith's greatest achievement. It does not simply record history, it preserves the consciousness of an entire civilization, encoded within the fabric of quantum space. When Lyrith fell, this was all that remained. And her voice faltered, just for a moment, I am its last fragment." Elias frowned, his mind racing to grasp the implications of her words. Humanity had dreamed of conquering time, but even the brightest minds in New Geneva had never conceived of preserving an entire civilization's consciousness in quantum form. He reached out, pressing his palm against the surface of one of the monoliths. The energy beneath his fingers flared. For a fleeting moment, a vision flooded his mind, a luminous city with twisting towers, beings like Lyra soaring across its skies, their laughter echoing like distant music. And then, white-hot devastation, everything consumed in a single, blinding instant. He yanked his hand away, his pulse hammering in his ears. "The signal I received," he turned to Lyra, his breath unsteady. "It was your people's distress call?" She nodded, the glow around her flickering. "Yes, when Lyrith was destroyed, the collective memory sent out one final cry for help, across time, across space, and somehow, it found you, Elias. But I don't know why. I don't know how to end this cycle. Every time I try to remember, the memories slip through my fingers like sand." Elias studied her, feeling a connection to her, deep, unshakable, and utterly inexplicable. "If this was a distress call, then humanity will answer," he said, his voice firm. "We may not understand time, but we do not surrender. I will find a way, for you, and for Lyrith." Lyra's lips curved into a faint, weary smile, but then her expression darkened. "We don't have much time," she whispered, her gaze lifted to the sky. "The hunter is already closing in." "The hunter is getting closer," Lyra whispered, her voice like a cold wind threading through the ruins of Lyrith. Elias turned to her, his sharp gaze trying to pierce through the veil of mystery surrounding this woman. But before he could ask anything, a sudden, piercing pain shot through his skull, like invisible hands tearing his mind apart piece by piece. He staggered, clutching his head, and in that moment, memories that once his came crashing in, fragments of a place he had never been. A time he had never lived. He saw himself standing in the vast expanse of space, dying stars flickering around him like the last embers of a dying fire. Lyra was there, her hand gripping his, her golden light fading. "Don't forget me," she whispered, but as he tried to respond, the reality around them shattered, splintering into floating shards of glass. Another memory surged forward, the two of them sitting together on a fragment of a broken world, tracing each other's names onto its cold surface. "Elias," she wrote, her letters glowing softly before dissolving into dust. He tried to complete her name, Lyra, but before he could finish, the dust took her name away, erasing it from existence. He screamed, but no sound came, only the void swallowing everything. Elias's eyes snapped open. He was back on Lyrith, his breath ragged. Lyra knelt beside him, her star-filled eyes heavy with sorrow. "You remember now, don't you?" she asked. He nodded, but as he raised his hand to reach for her, a wave of horror crashed over him. His fingers were turning translucent, fading as if dissolving into scattered motes of light. He looked at Lyra, his chest tightening. The glow around her had intensified, but it wasn't the glow of life. It was the flickering ember of a dying star, burning its last. "What's happening to us?" he rasped. Lyra lowered her head, her silver hair falling over her face. "Every cycle is consuming us," she said softly. "Time isn't just stealing our memories, it's erasing our existence. I've been through this thousands of times, but this time, I can feel it more clearly. And so can you, can't you?" Elias clenched his fists, though he could barely feel his fingertips anymore. He looked down, seeing his shadow growing fainter against the dust-covered ground. "I don't understand," he said. "If we've met 1,000 times, why don't I remember? Why am I here?" Lyra looked up, the light in her eyes flickering like a dying signal. "Because you're the only one who answered," she said. "Thousands of years ago, when Lyrith sent out its distress call, no one heard it. No civilization dared to face time itself. But humanity, you are different. You heard it, Elias, and you came. That's why I believe you can break this cycle." Elias pushed himself to his feet, though his body felt as if it were being dragged down by the weight of the void itself. He looked at the towering stone pillars around them, their veins of light pulsing like a dying heartbeat. "If time is devouring us, then we don't have time to waste," he said, his voice firm. "Humanity wasn't born to surrender, not to the stars, not to time, and sure as hell not to some damned endless loop." Lyra smiled, a small, fragile thing, but filled with something deeper. "I have seen thousands of cycles," she said, "but never have I met someone like you. Someone who looks into the darkness and steps forward." She rose to her feet, her golden light spilling outward, illuminating the ruins around them. "We must reach the core of the memory stream. If there's a way to break the loop, it's there." Elias nodded, his determination burning brighter than ever. But as they turned, a sound sliced through the stillness, a cold, metallic shriek echoing through the fractured space. Lyra's grip on his hand tightened. "They're here," she whispered. A piercing screech shattered the eerie silence of Lyrith, like metal raking across fractured reality. Elias and Lyra halted, their breath hanging heavy in the still air. Lyra's grip on his hand tightened, the golden glow of her form flickering erratically, echoing the fear in her star-filled eyes. "They're here," she whispered, her voice unsteady but laced with the certainty of someone who had faced the darkness 1,000 times before. Elias turned, scanning the ashen horizon. The massive, floating stone pillars trembled, their ancient structures groaning under unseen pressure. Then, from the abyss beyond, a new rupture tore through space, not the spiraling light of Lyra's call, but a black void that devoured everything in its path. And from that void, they emerged, not human, not machine, towering figures, their forms shifting between fluid metal and solid construct, moving with the precision of machines yet carrying the weight of something far older. On their shoulders, a crimson insignia burned bright, REC, the Reality Equilibrium Council. A heavy pressure settled over Elias, as if time itself recoiled at their presence. Elias Varen, the voice didn't come from any single entity, it resonated through the space itself. Cold and devoid of any trace of humanity. You have exceeded the limits of your kind. Lyra Noctis, you have violated the balance. Both of you must be erased. 3 REC entities raised their hands. From their palms, streams of black energy erupted, slicing through the ruins. A towering stone pillar nearby crumbled into quantum dust. Elias yanked Lyra back as cracks spread through the air itself, floating shards of fractured reality spinning around them, reflecting endless versions of themselves from past cycles. A prison with no escape. Who the hell are you? Elias shouted, his voice reverberating through the void. One of the REC stepped forward, its shifting form twisted, coalescing into something almost human. A hollow approximation of a face. Devoid of expression, "We are the Reality Equilibrium Council," it replied, its voice an echo of countless forgotten years. Long ago, we were the guardians of Lyrith, the ones who sought to manipulate time to save it from annihilation. But we failed. What you see as the stream of collective memory is not a legacy, it is a curse. A cycle that doomed Lyrith and will consume the entire universe if you persist. Lyra trembled, her golden glow dimming. You abandoned us, she murmured. When Lyrith fell, you ran, left us in the dark. The REC entity tilted its head, voice colder than before. We chose reality. You and this human are threatening it. If you break the cycle, the paradox will erase everything, Earth, Lyrith, and all that has ever existed. Elias clenched his fists. He looked at Lyra, then at the towering enforcers before them. And in that moment, something ignited within him, a fire that no logic, no warnings, no gods or machines could extinguish. You talk about failure as if it's inevitable, he growled, stepping forward, even as his own hands flickered, dissolving into wisps of light. But humanity wasn't built to accept failure. You abandoned Lyrith, but I won't abandon her, or myself. The REC entities raised their hands again, black energy surging between their palms, forming a sphere of collapsing space, ready to annihilate everything in its wake. Elias didn't move. Instead, he roared, a primal, unrelenting cry, not of technology, not of reason, but of defiance, of something deeper, something that had carried his species through darkness, through extinction, through the cold indifference of the universe itself. His voice ripped through the broken space, shaking the ruins. The stone pillars trembled, the glowing veins of Lyrith pulsating wildly. And from the depths of the stream of collective memory, a golden explosion erupted, rushing into Lyra like a supernova. She gasped, collapsing to her knees, her eyes burning with newfound brilliance. Elias, she whispered, fragments of forgotten moments flashing before her, them standing together, facing REC, in a cycle long past. You did it, you awakened it. The REC entities recoiled, their black energy faltering, flickering with instability. Elias reached for Lyra, his grip firm, his voice was steel. If you want to stop us, try. He took a step forward, eyes locked onto the faceless enforcers. But humanity does not kneel before the dark. Elias gripped Lyra's hand tightly, his eyes burning with an unyielding resolve. If you want to stop us, then try. He roared, standing firm against the liquid metal entities of REC. His voice still echoed through the vast emptiness, reverberating through the collective memory stream, stirring something deep within Lyra's starlit eyes, a fragile spark of hope against the crushing darkness. REC hesitated, their black energy wavering. unstable, but they did not retreat. A piercing screech shattered the silence. From the void on the horizon, dozens of energy bolts erupted, streaking toward them like harbingers of oblivion. Elias yanked Lyra forward, sprinting toward the radiant beacon in the distance, the central core of Lyra's ruins. They dashed through colossal floating pillars, their glowing veins pulsing erratically, as if counting down to an inevitable end. The ground beneath them quaked, fissures splitting open from the relentless onslaught of wreck. A blast of black energy slashed past, reducing a massive stone pillar to quantum dust. Reality itself fractured around them, shards of suspended glass reflecting infinite versions of themselves, Elias and Lyra. Hands clasped, eyes fierce with determination, but their bodies slowly unraveling into nothingness. "How many times have we done this?" Elias whispered, but there was no time for answers. The core loomed before them, a colossal sphere of golden radiance. Hovering in the air like the still-beating heart of Lyra, its surface shimmered with intricate, flowing patterns, pulsating like breath itself. A powerful quantum current surged from within, distorting space around it. Elias could feel the raw energy of the collective memory stream, not just memories, but the consciousness of billions who had once lived here, trapped in the relentless cycle of time. "This is it," he said, voice hoarse. "If there's any way to break the loop, it's here." Lyra nodded, but the golden glow surrounding her flickered, unstable, like a flame on the verge of dying. A surge of black energy lanced toward them, grazing her shoulder. She staggered, collapsing into Elias's arms. His fingers trembled as he held her, his own hand now almost completely translucent. "Are you okay?" he asked, but Lyra only gave him a faint smile, her star-filled gaze locking onto his. "Elias," she whispered, her voice like a distant echo, "I have to tell you the truth. I am not just the last survivor of Lyra. I am the collective memory stream itself, created from the consciousness of an entire civilization, sent forth in search of salvation. With each loop, I lose a part of myself, but you gave me hope." Her words struck him like a physical blow. Elias stared at her, then at the brilliant sphere ahead. "You mean, you're Lyra?" His voice faltered. Lyra nodded. "I was sent to find someone strong enough to stand against time itself. And I found you." Wreck was closing in, their liquid metal bodies moving with terrifying precision. Above them, black energy coalesced into a swirling storm, ready to consume all. A thunderous crack echoed as one of the floating glass shards shattered, revealing a fragmented reflection of another loop. Elias and Lyra, standing at the core's threshold, but failing to reach it. "We cannot fail again," Elias growled, pulling Lyra to her feet. "Humanity didn't reach the stars by running away. If you are Lyra, then I will fight for you, for everything you stand for." They charged toward the core, defying the maelstrom of darkness crashing down upon them. Elias felt his body unraveling, dissolving into nothingness, but his will remained unshaken. "We will reach it," he declared, his voice unbreakable, "and we will end this loop together." "We will make it," Elias roared, his voice hard as steel, echoing through the ruins of Lyra even as his body disintegrated. Piece by piece, he tightened his grip on Lyra's hand, pulling her toward the core, the radiant sphere hovering in the fractured space, where the stream of collective memory pulsed like a beacon in the dark. The black storm of wreck descended, shaking the ground, toppling colossal stone pillars into clouds of quantum dust. But Elias did not stop. The will of humanity, his will, was an unquenchable fire, burning brighter than the destruction closing in around them. They halted mere steps from the core. It floated before them, massive and luminous, its surface laced with glowing veins that pulsed like the heartbeat of something alive, sending waves of quantum energy rippling through the air. Elias could feel the force within it, more than technology. It was the very soul of a civilization, trapped in the loops of time. Lyra released his hand, stepping forward, her golden light merging with the glow of the core. But when she turned back to him, her star-filled eyes were filled with sorrow. "Elias," she whispered, her voice trembling, "to break the loop, I have to dissolve completely into the stream. I am it, and it is me. Only by sacrificing myself can Lyra's memories be set free, and you will be released." Elias shook his head, stepping forward even as his arm flickered, almost entirely translucent. "No," he said firmly. "I didn't come all this way to lose you. We've faced this darkness together. Thousands of times. I won't let you face it alone again." Lyra gave him a weak smile. But before she could argue, a memory surged into Elias's mind, so powerful that it knocked him to his knees. He saw an ancient interstellar vessel, bearing Earth's insignia from millennia ago, descending upon Lyra when the planet was still a shining beacon of floating cities and starlit skies. A man stepped out, a man who looked eerily like him, carrying primitive technology but eyes ablaze with conviction. That man spoke with Lyra's people, promising a future where their worlds would be united. But then, something went wrong. A temporal rupture. The ship vanished, leaving Lyra in chaos. Elias gasped, his chest heaving. "My ancestors," he whispered. "They were here." Lyra stared at him, her eyes wide. "You remember?" Elias nodded. "I wasn't just some random pilot who heard your signal. My ancestors came to Lyra. They were part of this story. I am the key, the link between Earth and Lyra. I can fix what was lost." He rose to his feet, his gaze fierce. "We don't have to sacrifice anyone. We can activate the core together, not to destroy, but to restore." Rek drew closer, their liquid metal forms shifting ominously, the black energy above them condensing into a swirling vortex. "Stop," a cold, mechanical voice reverberated from within them. "If you awaken the stream, a paradox will erase reality. All civilizations, all timelines will be undone." Elias turned to face them, his body fading, but his will burning brighter than ever. "You abandoned Lyra out of fear," he growled, "but humans, we don't abandon hope. That's what you'll never understand. If there is even the smallest chance to save her, to save everything, I will take it." Lyra reached for his hand, her golden light spreading into him, their energy intertwining, the bridge between two worlds. "Together," she said, her voice unwavering. They stepped toward the core, pressing their hands against its brilliant surface. Rek shrieked, the black storm crashing down in a final, desperate assault, but Elias and Lyra stood firm. The sphere trembled, the golden light erupted outward. Everything was consumed in radiance. "We will succeed," Elias whispered, feeling his body dissolve, but his mind sharper than ever. "Humanity does not bow to fate, we shape it." "We can do this," Elias whispered, his voice steady even as his body dissolved into the void. His and Lyra's hands pressed against the luminous surface of the core, its pulsating veins flickering wildly, like Lyra's heart beating one last time before the final explosion. Rex screamed, unleashing a tidal wave of black energy, but it never reached them. The golden light radiating from Lyra intertwined with Elias' indomitable will, forming an invisible barrier that repelled the darkness. The fractured space around them trembled, and shards of floating glass reflected thousands of versions of themselves from past loops, all of them standing together. Hand in hand, facing destiny, Elias turned to Lyra, her eyes shining like the last stars in the universe. "Together," he said, and with that, they pressed their hands into the core. A deep, resounding boom echoed, not the sound of destruction, but the voice of billions of Lyra's lost souls awakening from their slumber. The sphere quaked violently before bursting into a blinding golden explosion, swallowing the ruins of Lyra, Rek, and the two of them. But this light was not just energy, it was memory, love, and the very soul of a civilization lost in time, now reborn through their sacrifice. In that fleeting moment of dissolution, Elias saw everything. He saw Lyra in its golden age, floating cities, radiant skies, winged beings soaring through the heavens, children laughing under a warm, amber glow. He saw his ancestors, one man, a mirror of himself, stepping onto Lyra long ago, standing among its people, carrying primitive technology yet eyes burning with determination. He saw the promise that had been made, a future where Earth and Lyra would stand as one. Then, the catastrophe, an explosion in time. The ship vanishing, and Lyra plunging into chaos. Elias gasped as the memories poured into him. My ancestors, they were here. Lyra looked at him, her celestial eyes wide. You remember? She asked softly. Elias nodded. I wasn't just drawn to your signal by chance. My ancestors came to Lyra. They were part of this story. I am part of this story. His gaze burned with newfound resolve. We don't have to sacrifice ourselves. We can activate the core, not to destroy, but to restore. REC closed in, its liquid metal entities swarming, the black mass above them coalescing into an immense singularity. Stop, a chilling voice roared from the void. If you activate the memory stream, a paradox will erase this reality. Every civilization, every timeline will cease to exist. Elias turned to face them. His body was unraveling, but his spirit remained unyielding. You abandoned Lyra out of fear, he shouted, but humanity does not surrender to fear. That's what you don't understand. If there's even the slightest chance to save her, to save everything, I will take it. Lyra reached for his hand, the golden light flowing from her merging with him. Two forces, two worlds, intertwined, together, she said, her voice unwavering. They stepped forward, pressing their hands onto the radiant surface. Rex shrieked, the black energy crashing down like a cosmic tidal wave. But Elias and Lyra did not falter. The sphere pulsed, the golden light surging outward, blinding, consuming everything. We will succeed, Elias whispered, feeling his form dissolve but his mind clearer than ever. Humanity does not kneel before fate, we forge it. The universe trembled. From the heart of the explosion, a wave of energy rippled outward, stretching across time and space. Distant stars flickered, as if bearing witness to the change. On the shattered ruins of Lyra, the cracked ground began to mend. Fallen structures rose once more, and veins of golden light spread like the lifeblood of a world being reborn. And then, from the void, a new planet emerged, not the old Lyra, but something new, glowing with golden radiance, carrying the echoes of Elias and Lyra's memories. The planet drifted between the stars, a monument to the truth humanity had always believed in. Hope can outshine the darkness. Love can transcend time, and in the final light, Elias and Lyra were no longer separate beings. They had become part of something far greater, not lost, not gone, but reborn. Their voices whispered through the cosmos. We are no longer just ourselves, we are everything. As the storm of light faded, silence fell. Rek was no more. The fractures in reality had sealed. And Lyra, new, reborn, stood radiant against the void. From the far reaches of space, a faint signal pulsed, not a cry for help, but a promise, a new beginning, waiting for humanity to discover. And Elias and Lyra had done what Rek never dared to dream of. They had not merely broken the loop, they had reshaped destiny itself. The newborn planet drifted among the stars, its golden glow radiating like a silent promise against the endless void. From the heart of Lyra reborn, a faint signal pulsed, not a desperate cry for help, but a whisper of hope, an invitation stretching across space and time. On Earth, in the year 2184, the sky above New Geneva remained the same muted silver, the city's glass towers curving weightlessly above layers of synthetic clouds. Yet, something had changed. At the Galactic Astronomical Institute, where Elias Varan had once worked, scientists lifted their heads from holographic screens, exchanging glances filled with quiet astonishment and unease. Every trace of Lyra and the Reality Equilibrium Council, REG, had vanished. The encrypted data Elias had sent to the Galactic Science Council, the spiraling signals, the enigmatic images of a woman beyond time, were now nothing but empty lines of code. The orbital station Erebus 7 reported that the fractures in space, once a source of growing concern, had mysteriously sealed themselves. His colleagues whispered theories of a failed experiment, another name added to the long history of humankind's sacrifices in the pursuit of the stars. But none of them knew the truth, that Elias had transcended time, defied the abyss, and left behind a legacy beyond their comprehension. Then, it appeared, one quiet morning, as sunlight pierced through New Geneva's artificial skyline. The Orion 9 telescope registered an anomaly, a celestial body where none had existed before. A planet, uncharted, unrecorded, and inexplicably there. It shimmered with a golden luminescence, not the piercing brilliance of a star, but something softer, like the lingering glow of a memory refusing to fade. Data flooded in, a breathable atmosphere, structural anomalies suggesting artificial constructs, and at its core, a signal, not binary, not the sterile rhythm of a machine, but a complex quantum waveform, like a chorus of a billion voices entwined as one. Dr. Mara Kale, director of the Astronomical Institute, stood before a towering holographic display, her fingers trembling as she magnified the image. This can't be natural," she whispered. "It's as if it was made." Silence gripped the room. Scientists stared at the intricate, vein-like patterns illuminating the planet's surface, lines too deliberate, too eerily familiar. They echoed the descriptions found in Elias's final transmissions, the towering crystalline spires he had once described, yet none dared to voice what they truly feared. That this was Lyrith, not the Lyrith that had perished, but something new, something reborn, a construct of forces beyond human comprehension, far beyond the reach of telescopes and radio waves. A whisper resonated, not through electromagnetic pulses, but through the very fabric of the collective memory, now woven into the cosmos itself. "We are no longer ourselves, yet we are everything." Elias and Lyra's voices, fused, eternal, like a song carried across the ages. The faint signal from the golden world carried a silent message, not a warning, not a distress call, an invitation, a beginning. Dr. Kale turned to her team, her eyes alight with something beyond curiosity, something closer to destiny. "Prepare an interstellar expedition," she ordered. "We don't know what's out there, but this is Elias's mark. I know it. Humanity wasn't meant to stand still when the universe calls." Technicians nodded, engines humming to life as the gravity manipulation drives came online. The signal grew stronger, slow, steady, like the heartbeat of something vast, something waiting. No one on Earth knew the truth, that this world was born of love and defiance, that Elias and Lyra, through the sheer force of will, had not only rewritten their own fate, but the destiny of civilizations long thought lost. The signal pulsed once more, waiting for the day humankind would answer and take its first step into a legacy written among the stars. The faint signal from the new planet pulsed like a heartbeat in the void, urging humanity to act. Just months after Dr. Mara Kale's order, an interstellar vessel, Aurora Dawn, departed from New Geneva, its gravity-manipulating engines roaring as it pierced the darkness of space. The crew did not know exactly what they were searching for, but within them burned the same relentless drive passed down through Elias's ancestors, the will to explore, to press forward, even when faced with the unknown. And then, they arrived. The planet stood before them, glowing with a golden radiance, an enigmatic jewel set against the vast backdrop of the galaxy. Jonas Kor was the first to set foot on its surface. His suit reflected the golden light as he stepped onto the terrain, soft, not barren like the dead worlds humanity had encountered before. He looked up, and for a moment, his breath caught in his throat. Towering above him were massive stone pillars, floating effortlessly in midair. They were exactly as Elias had described Lyrith in his final notes, but they were not ruins. Their surfaces pulsed with intricate veins of blue and gold light, like the very lifeblood of a living world, and from their crevices, strange flora emerged, releasing a faint, sweet aroma into the warm air. Jonas hesitated, then slowly removed his helmet. Inhaling deeply, the air was breathable, impossible. A newly discovered planet should not offer such a gift. He took a step forward, reaching out to touch one of the monolithic pillars. Its surface was warm beneath his fingertips, and beneath it, he felt something, a slow, steady pulse, a rhythm, a heartbeat. "What is this?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. And then, the wind stirred, A voice, soft as a memory, carried through the air, not from his communicator, but from the very space around him. You don't remember my name, but you remember this feeling. Jonas spun around, but there was no one there. The voice faded into the breeze, leaving him standing in stunned silence. Yet, what he felt was not fear, it was something deeper. A connection. Somewhere, somehow, he had been here before. He lifted his gaze to the sky, where the stars shimmered above as if watching, waiting. And then, slowly, he smiled. Someone made this happen, he said over the comms, his voice thick with wonder. Someone gave us a new beginning. The story closes with Jonas standing amidst the floating pillars, bathed in the golden glow of a world reborn. This was not merely a discovery. This was the legacy of Elias and Lyra, proof that human love and will could defy time, transcend space, and outlive the fall of civilizations. From Earth to Lyrith, from past to future, humanity had proven that they were not just wanderers among the stars, but shapers of the cosmos itself. The song of memory among the stars did not end. It lived on, in every step of those who dared to dream, dared to hope, and dared to love.